Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome to the Field to the Deal podcast. We are getting going live here. It's always that first part when you go live online. It's kind of like a check out, get things moving, get all the networks connected. We're on X or Twitter or whatever people call it these days. We're also on YouTube, wherever you find us. If you see it, tweet it, like it. So, and today the big question is Broncos. Winning is only the beginning. Are we playoff bound? So, Broncos are 3-2, aka on the road to the playoffs. Chargers are coming to town and with the coach that got away. Is Sean going to take this week personally? Would you take it personally if your boss called you Ferris Bueller? CU is also 4-1. They got Kansas State coming in this Saturday night to Folsom Field at 8:15. Coach Prime may not be hard to find, but you know what it is? It's those shirts and those hoodies that say he's hard to find. Ain't hard to find. I was trying to find them and I couldn't, but I did find Detroit Tigers playoff gear. So we're going to ask Scott about the Tigers and their chances of winning this weekend and beating Cleveland because nobody likes Cleveland. So CJ Anderson, he's coming in here soon. I think he's out seeing his friend in Aurora this afternoon. Super agent Peter Schaefer Esquire is with us. And along with Scott, the former pro baseball player turned NFL GM, which I got to ask you how that happened sometime too. That seems like a, got to talk to your guidance counselor. And I'm Rob Blasi. So I want to thank Simpler AI as a digital marketing company helping your organization be found in a complex digital world. Simply just go to simpler.ai. The link's also in the description and you can set up an appointment there. If your organization needs to be found online. See you in the Broncos this weekend. Well, CJ, when he gets here, Scott, Peter, ever get in a battle of words with your boss and get called a nickname? We'll play Sean Payton's thoughts on it right here.
Fired in the end zone to Franklin. And I've seen you have these conversations.
It's part of the deal. Listen, last year, all of a sudden, it's just, there's still a little bit of Ferris Bueller in this player that we got to get rid of. All right, talking about Bo, and I love him to death. And so sometimes it's my love language. All right?
Can you say what it was about?
No. Okay. No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, Sean.
Scott, so, what's your love language?
Well, no, so forget it. Before we get to that, I love the movie Ferris Bueller. I did not understand the reference. And anytime you could reference Ferris Bueller, Caddyshack, Fletch. Yes. But I didn't understand the reference.
I'm with you 100%, but you know what he's talking about. He's like, he does what he wants to do. Yeah. He just not gonna completely buy in right now, and I know Bo a little bit as a person, and he's a great guy, and he'll buy in, but that's just Sean being Sean, and that's awesome.
But good relationship. Right, as a general manager, one of the great talent evaluators, do you really want a quarterback who's a drone, that doesn't have his own, stamp on it and say, hey, I saw this? Or do you really want a quarterback that buys in 100%? I mean, he's
partner. When I first got in the NFL, I spent my first 4.5 years with Brett Favre.
He was Ferris Bueller.
He's Ferris Bueller. Ain't no doubt about it. But the thing is, it's not a negative thing he's saying, and he even said, I really respect him, like him, but yeah, as a head coach, as you're well aware, Peter, you've been around us long enough. They always want more, they expect to be more and more and more. And especially when you're a young guy.
They're like sales managers. They always want more.
My understanding was that Bo saw some protection issue. Sean didn't plan for it, didn't prepare for it. And Bo's like, you put us in a play that we couldn't get out of because of however the defense lined up or the protection. So he was pissed at that. And so on some level, does a head coach have to apologize? Does a head coach ever admit he was wrong? And does he lose credibility, power with the players if you say, I was wrong?
No, matter of fact, you get more credit. Then they understand that you understand them, and players respect that. As you're well aware, all the clients you've had, if the coach is willing to say I was wrong, then the players are like, okay, so he's one of us. He's not just saying pointing fingers at a player. That changes everything.
I think it's a lot like having a boss. You get called into their office, and the boss goes, "Hey, good call on this situation. I would have handled it differently, but you handled it right in your situation." I think anytime anyone who's been in work and has had a boss, it's like you might not have followed the procedure manual to the T, but they're like, "No, this was the right way to handle it in this situation."
Yeah, but the difference, Rob, and you're taking that from the corporate marketing world, and it's very successful. Is the difference is that when you get called into the boss's office, there's not 25 million people watching you and 2 commentators commenting on it, and then people asking you questions about it afterwards in a press conference.
No, that's like right. My mom sometimes calls me up and goes, "What happened at work today?" So that's about it. So
Right.
but
and you see it, and right. But so I think that a lot of times head coaches, and Sean is as smart as any head coach in the league.
Absolutely.
But even the smartest person in the league does make a mistake. Right. Even me, for example, I once made a mistake. Like I had told my wife, right. She had asked me something and I told her something and I said, "Oh, I think I was wrong." Right. And it turned out I was right.
Be
Even
careful,
when
I did make that mistake.
Even when he's wrong, he's right. He should be right. He should be in Aurora running for politics right now too. Oh, we lost him. I didn't do that. I don't think I did that. It's coming right back. We didn't mean to do that to you, Peter. I don't know what happened.
When does it start in Aurora?
I think in like an hour or two. So if you're going out to Aurora, it's going to be traffic out there. That's for sure.
That's why I'm taking the light rail. That's why I take the light rail to the airport today.
Absolutely. So
a little shout out though, Rob. Little shout out. My mom's turning 90, so she's planned the big birthday party for herself.
Hey, happy birthday, Mrs. Schaefer.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah. She ordered a lot of wine. Thank God, a buddy of mine from high school in our small town owns a liquor store. Otherwise, I'd be bankrupt right now.
That's funny. I see the relationship between like Sean Payton and Bo Nix more like Doc Brown and Marty McFly than Ferris Bueller. I see it as like where you have the crazy mad scientist and Sean Payton and Marty just trying to keep up with what's going on and being like, how do I get back to 1955? I can't believe it actually worked.
So I was at Best Buy and at the Geek Squad this week, and the guy showed me that if you go to O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and we should be able to translate this into a endorsement deal with O'Reilly's Auto Parts, you look in O'Reilly and you put in flux capacitor, it comes up.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. No, when I used to sell like more industrial parts for fuel equipment, Peter, and when people would say stuff, I'm like, I think you're looking for a flux capacitor. I think that's what it is, and people would at least laugh at that. But moving on, Scott, a question for you, like in the coaching ranks, because you've hired your fair share of coaches over the years.
Sure.
And you have your list, like any candidates list. And it's pretty well known that Sean Payton wasn't the number one guy listed when they were looking for a new coach here in Denver. And Harbaugh was. They actively recruited him. And so now that he's coming back to town against Sean Payton, we know CJ and how he holds grudges against, or at least keeps up with other players. Is the same thing going on with coaches? Do they kind of remember like, oh, they wanted him first. I got, but I still won the job. He's coming to town. I got to show him.
It depends on the personality of the coach. Of course, they have pride and they have faith in themselves. Sean's a really good coach. Jim's a really good coach. I respect him my entire career. I know both of them personally, and but it's not so much that, it's just the fact that you want to win. It's just like, okay, so the ownership didn't hire me. I got my job I wanted. You got his job he wanted, whatever. Mm-hmm. But they're going to battle each other big time. But I don't think there's grudges, and I don't know, how the whole process works out with some organizations, how they interview coaches or whatever, or who they want to talk to, whatever. Everybody's different, but they're both prideful and they'll both want to get after each other. I promise you that.
Yeah, no, it's like probably like a healthy rivalry where you go like, hey, you know what? You came here. I want to get a good shot at you too. Like it's one of those where more of a friendly rivalry, like your buddy got moved to a different team?
Well,
More
I
than
think though, Rob, I think it's a little bit bigger than that. So both of them
Yeah, it's not
probably in
friendly.
terms, yeah, are probably, at least in the last year's hiring cycle, would be the two marquee guys. You know, Belichick
yeah,
obviously would be there. You're talking about Hall of Fame coaches that are free agents and available. And of course, Harbaugh came from Michigan, you know, won the national championship. He has his ways of doing things, and Sean has his ways of doing things. And so when you hire a coach like that, you are not just hiring a coach, you're hiring his ways of doing things.
yeah,
And you have to be prepared because they're going to come in there. And, you know, if you hire a younger coach, like, you know, like Scott hired a couple of younger coaches, the building is still the building. And yeah, he might have a few things that he wants to do, the head coach. But you hire Jim Harbaugh or Sean Payton, they're bringing their way with them, right, Scott?
Yep, 100%. And the thing about it is too, like you said, the culture for both of those guys is really, really good. What they've been through, what, you know, adversity, success, all that. But also, when it's all said and done, you know, they want to beat each other's ass. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a guy thing, you know, and that's the way it rolls in the NFL.
yeah. No, I could see that, like with other coaches I've become friends with over the years. When you play the other team, it's like you don't want to have the phone call afterwards, like, "Hey, coach, good game," and be on the losing side
No,
of it.
the
Correct.
great part, again, talking about what we were talking about earlier about how, you know, you could be at work and no one sees you get called to the boss's table. At the end of the game, when these two have to shake hands, oh, I guarantee you, they've been MFing each other all week. They've been thinking about that, and it's a lot easier to be the shaker than the shaky. Meaning, if you are the on the winning side, because if
Oh
you're on the
yeah.
winning side, you're looking. Hey, where's Peyton? I'm going to go find him. And if you're the loser, you're like, oh, how can I just get to the locker room without having to freaking look him in the eye and shake his hand?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. So speaking of
But
the game this week, the Chargers are favored by 3
that
last
surprised
night.
me a little.
Yeah.
That really surprised me because if you look at, you know, what again, and the Broncos defense is pretty strong.
Correct.
I mean, they're second in the league right now, for crying out
Correct.
loud. And you could not name me 4 starters on a team on defense, and they only have one first-round draft choice on the whole defense. And they're number 2 in the league in defense,
You
and
got to give VJ a lot of respect, buddy. A
tons
lot of
of it.
respect.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Vance Joseph,
absolutely.
the D coordinator.
I mean,
Yeah.
just doing a heck of a job there. If you right,
Yeah.
Yep.
I just updated. It's still at 3 and 35.5 is the over under on that. Did you know that between the two teams, like they're averaging giving up the Chargers are averaging giving up 12.5, and the Broncos are averaging just giving up 14.6 per game. So this is probably going to be a barn burner of a game, especially with our offensive output average is 19.2, and the Chargers average is 17. So with Herbert and Nix, you got 2 Oregon Duck quarterbacks. But Herbert started off for the league coming out on fire. What is Harbaugh doing differently to him where they're to be more consistent, or like where they're not putting the points and numbers up, but they're trying to establish an identity? What's going on?
Go ahead, Peter.
they're running the ball. That's Harbaugh's offense. And really, if for the Broncos to win this week, you're not even gonna have to look at the scoreboard. If the Chargers put up more than 100 yards rushing, it's gonna be a long day for the Broncos. If they're under 100, I think that they're gonna be successful. Agreed,
Yeah,
Scott?
I totally agree. You know, and the thing with Harbaugh, what's really, really cool, and you know, when I was in Seattle, we of course we played San Fran a lot when he was the head coach, and the one thing he wants to do, like Peter said, he wants to play physical football up front and run the football. But then you throw, you know, Herbert in there, and he's a very, very talented quarterback, very, very talented. And you know, they don't have the receivers that can light it up, but they're still a 50-50 team running and throwing, you know. And I think that's very important. When all of a sudden you get 70-30 one way or the other, you know. Now, if it's 70 running, it means you're winning the game. It means you're trying to run the clock down. But when you're throwing 70% of the time, then you get nervous. Then go ahead.
Are you concerned about the Broncos' run defense, which traditionally has been what's the concern of the team, and how much the Chargers are probably going to come running the ball, especially after a bye week.
Well, see, the problem with all this is we talked about this last week, is when you look at the stats and you're sitting there saying, okay, who's where in terms of rush stats. The problem is that really you have to stop the run in the first half, because if you're up by 20 points, your rush stats are really not going to look good, because you're going to be giving up 5 yards of gas. You don't care if they're running, because that's the defense you're playing. So the statistics get skewed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that even last week against the Raiders came out. Their philosophy was we were going to pound the ball. They had won the week before by running. And because the Broncos were able to stop them early drives, and then they got up and they were up 10-0 and whatever, 13-0, that forced the Raiders to get out of what they wanted to do. And even though they wound up with more rushing yards towards the end of the game, a lot of those came in the fourth quarter. So I think it's that first quarter, the first quarter and a half, if the Broncos can stop that run, boom.
Correct. Yeah, and the thing about it, and you both know this, you've seen football long enough, it all starts up front, both sides, O-line, D-line, and if you can show your presence with authority in the first quarter, second quarter, then you start wearing them down. Then they know that they're in trouble. Then all of a sudden the D coordinator switches stuff up at halftime, or the offense coordinator switches stuff up at halftime, knowing that they're getting dominated up front.
If you guys are Sean Payton and you win the coin flip, are you taking the ball or are you kicking off to start this game?
I take it. I take it every time. I want to be the enforcer. I want to go.
I think that people put, I guess, and there's all this analytics about all that stuff. But again, like Scott says, the analytics in football change because, they say, well, 60% of the people win if they, kick the ball or, kick off or defer. But Scott's right. If you really feel that you're going to be in a game where that matters, you got to take the ball and you got to send a message.
You got to go score points. That's the whole key. You score points early. That's what it's all about.
Last night's game, it was close, and boom, turnover. Seattle holds them to a field goal, another turnover, and then the game was almost out of hand, and the guy, Laviska runs a touchdown back. They're back in it, and they're driving down the field, turnover again, and Seattle really did not play well. And but for that one turnover, it would have been 20-17.
Yep.
No, so. What's interesting to think, I'm curious, you guys have the stats and all the metrics more than I do on this, but if the team that scores first, how often do they typically win the game? Especially say a touchdown. If you score a touchdown first, how much likely are you to win the game? Do you know that, or is that something you've heard?
Well, I'm sure they have the analytics. I don't, all I know is my analytics tell you this, and this is years of studying Excel sheets, and that 100% of the times that you score more points than the other team, you will win.
I had a very interesting stat. Mine only said 50% of the time if you score more. So I don't know. Mine's from a private school, so I don't know.
No, I'm a state school guy right there. But 100% of the time you score. So at the end of the day, because football's offense, defense, it's like baseball. You're pitching or you're hitting. So you have to be able to do, it all has to work together.
No, absolutely.
So I don't necessarily know. I agree with Scott. Let's punch him in the mouth early.
Correct.
No.
Correct.
And so speaking of punching him mouth early this weekend, we got a couple watch-alongs. We're going to watch the CU game together, and we're watching the Saturday night and the Bronco game Sunday afternoon. So we're going to be together a lot this weekend. So, coming up, and then, by the way, we got Tyler Columbus, former CU Buff, joining us on Saturday for a few minutes too during the game. But Coach Prime, I love the shirt. It says, "I'm not hard to find." But those, I was actually looking up. I actually sold something. So sometimes I don't know if Peter, you're in sales. You sign a new client, you sign a big deal. Sometimes you treat yourself a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm going to go get something nice. It's like, I'm going to go get one of those CU shirts. They're all out of stock. Right. I can't find them.
So, what do you mean you can't find them?
The shirt that says "ain't hard to find," they're out of stock.
Well, the irony of that is just compelling.
Is that a joke? Or
No,
is that
I literally tried to
legit?
order them this week. I wanted to get them. I'm like, oh, because like I'm in sales, Scott. So you sell something, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a little extra something for me. I'm like, I'm gonna get a shirt, but I ordered a Detroit Tigers playoff shirt instead. So
Send me the logo. I got a T-shirt guy. He'll make it up for you.
okay, and so, but Coach Prime, they got Kansas State coming in town, and they're actually favored by 4. Kansas State's favored by 4 coming into Boulder. Can CU keep up their winning ways this weekend, Scott?
You know what? They can. They got 2 really good football players that you can score points. K-State, I give them total respect for discipline and coaching and playing to their system. They're very, very coordinated, if that makes sense. But with CU, they can light anybody up with that quarterback and that receiver. They can light anybody up. A couple of receivers, to tell you the truth.
Nice.
So, but K-State will not. They'll bring their A game, man. I mean, it's going to be a tough game.
And keep in mind now, K-State, I was talking with Scout this week, Scott, that was running through or they call it the Little Apple.
Yep.
And I said, what are you looking at? He goes, really, God, they have just a running back who's really, he's good, but he's not whatever. And
Yep.
I go, anybody else? Like, not really. And yet
Yep.
they took it to Oklahoma State, wiped Oklahoma State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona is the 20th ranked team in the country. They wiped them.
Yep.
Tulane has got a really nice team. They killed them. So,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, I predicted. I thought Oklahoma State would win the conference.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, Peter, the quarterback's young for K-State. Big time recruit, big time recruit. But they just don't make mistakes. They're not the talented team at all, but they're just disciplined and they're very, very well coached. They
really do, and they just every play is the same thing. There's just no off plays.
Correct.
And again, that's if you were to find an analogous team in the NFL, it's the Steelers.
Correct.
They
right.
have TJ
You're
Watt
right.
or whatever, but boy, they every week it's the same thing.
Yep.
Everybody, they lose a guard, they don't miss a beat. They lose a tackle, they don't miss a beat.
Yep.
And K-State is the same shoot match. And I'll tell you something, when you have a 2-horse team like Colorado, that could either bode well for them or it can get ugly early. Like Scott when he was at Wichita State, he ugly early.
It was always ugly early, but the thing is with that quarterback, as long as he stays healthy, which knock on wood he does, they got a chance. They got a chance against anybody.
It'll be an interesting weekend there with the CU. And from what I was hearing on local radios, Kansas State does have an issue with going on the road and winning and playing well on the road. So playing in Boulder, loud atmosphere. I'm sure Little Apple there is a tough place to play as well. But when it's not your tough place to play, like how does being on the road, to see you finally have a real home field advantage compared to in the history when they've had like 17 fans showing up. Now they're selling out. People are going crazy up there. Will that help? Could push the needle for the bus?
Well, let me ask you this, Scott. Is the home field advantage like Seattle, the 12th man? Is that the advantage, or is it the advantage that it makes it hard to play because of the crowd noise, or is it the altitude here in Colorado? Again, an 8:15 game in Boulder.
Oh yeah,
that creates its own problems.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing about the home field is good because you're staying in your own team hotel right there. Everybody's comfortable. You're not having to worry about flights. You're not worried about packing stuff, anything like that. So you're playing home. The noise definitely matters because when my brother David was playing at CU, it sold out every game, and they were a top 5 team, every year, whatever it was. But it does matter because I just think with young kids, and they're not kids, they're young men, but when you're 19, 20, 21, 22, when you change their pattern for the week, it affects them in a certain way. Some guys more than others. Some guys don't care, but when you just keep the same schedule for the whole week and with the coaches, with the players, the fans are going to be lit up. They're going to be having a great time, and it's going to be loud, loud, loud. And it's definitely an advantage. Definitely.
Well, the other thing too is, and I don't know if we're even allowed to talk about this, but when you have an 8:15 game in Boulder, and you have one road in, that means those fans are getting there noon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm telling you, they're not going to the 24-hour fitness from noon to 8.
No, no, they're going to be lit up and ready to roll.
They're going to be lit up. They're going to be loud. They're going to be obnoxious. And
they allow drinking
we're
in
joking
Folsom
about
Field?
it, but it's serious. When you go up there, the baseball stadium is Coors Field here, but no, Folsom Field is Coors Field on a Saturday night.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be out of control, buddy. It'll be, yeah, it'll be not just the amount of people that are in the stadium sold out. The guys are there before that can't have tickets, but they're still going to be getting after it.
It'll be a party. Travis Hunter, by the way, is finally a top Heisman candidate. We talked about it about a week ago that he was basically the 10th highest candidate. Now he's the top 3 candidate. Likely, if things keep going this way, going to New York. What's it going to take for Travis Hunter, probably the first non-quarterback winners of it potentially in years? What's he have to do to keep this trend going?
It's got to be offense. He's got to score touchdowns. And picks are cool, but they don't. Defensive players are Charles Woodson. But he played both ways. Yeah. He needs to keep producing on the offensive side. That'll be huge for him.
Well, I think also right. But so when Woodson won the Heisman, you have to have. It's really 2 things. One, you have to have an incredible year, but then also there has to be not really like a Troy Aikman or Barry Sanders with 2,900 yards. You have to be devoid of that superstar player, because they will. If you have a quarterback on a 13-0 team and he's throwing for 4,000 yards, he's going to win it. My question though is, if Colorado beats K-State to go 5-1, do they get ranked?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Right now they're at the bottom. Like, they're getting some points, but they're just not ranked in the top 25.
They beat K-State. They're ranked.
But K-State's not ranked right now, right?
They're 18th.
No. They're 18th. Okay.
Yeah. No, they've been ranked the whole year.
No. Yeah, and they beat two top 20 teams.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a heck of a game. I'm telling you, I'll tell you what. You better bring their A game, because K-State will. That coach, I know him well. They're going to play physical now. They ain't going to play around.
Right, so, and I think that could be the issue, because if they, like we were talking about earlier, just like the Chargers want to come in here and smack the Broncos in the mouth, that's exactly what it's almost like it's the same game. Correct. Saturday night that we're going to see Sunday. It's the same exact.
Correct. It's going to be physical.
Philosophies. Yeah,
it's going to be physical.
The Chargers are the Kansas State, the Broncos and the Buffs are sort of similar. Quarterback finesse, boom, boom. And that's going to be the issue, and you're going to see it twice. So we could actually just tape the show Saturday night
and just replay it,
and just do the replace thing, like with the Word document. Just replace every time you say Colorado with Broncos.
I think there's an AI tool we can get for that. That can work. So, thinking of the game on Saturday night, do you think Deion's going to stay true to the run game? Is that because that's really what's helped push them over the edge to be more like a balanced offense? Are they going to be able, if the game stays close, are they going to be able to keep true to the run game?
Who CU?
CU.
They don't have a run game.
No. K-State will.
I mean, they've been running the ball better. It's like me losing 5 pounds. Like, hey, good job. You lost a little. Like, you did a good job. It's better than what you were doing. Better than gaining weight, but gaining 5 pounds. So it's like, but they've been saying they're doing better at running the ball is kind of subjective to where the number starts.
Well, right. That's like saying to Mrs. Lincoln, other than the second act, how did you like to play?
Well,
Scott, that was a history reference.
And I don't know history, so I'm sorry.
So, all right, so let me take it back. So Abe Lincoln was the president of the United States.
I know that.
He went to the Ford Theater, and in the second act is when John Wilkes Booth shot him. So other than the second act, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you like to play?
Scott, he probably wouldn't have gotten shot if he didn't have his head down while he was on Twitter. So probably if he wasn't focused on his phone, nothing would have happened. But he was
Well, I'm
focused
not
on
on
his phone
Twitter.
during the.
I'm texting back and forth. I've got a player in surgery right now. We got another one who's testing out an ankle. We're multitasking here.
Hey, he's working.
No,
He's working.
working.
You know, the thing is, Rob, talking about the run with CU is the fact that if the quarterback's on, which he usually is, that helps out the run game immensely because K-State's coming here to stop the pass. They're not coming here to stop the run. You know, that's their priority because they know what the beast is. Now, he gets off to a good start, then of course that helps the run game a lot. But K-State with this young quarterback, they're going to live on the run game. They have to, and then they got a good back. He's legit. He's definitely draftable.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they're going to pound them.
Yep, they're going
I'll
to try.
tell you something. The thing about K-State is that in whatever 30 years I've been doing this, they had probably the two most fun running backs ever to watch.
Deuce is loose.
Deuce is loose a few years ago.
Yeah.
So you watch him, you scouting him, you're like, all right, he's little, he's this, but boy, he was fun to watch. And then what's his name? Played for the Eagles for all those years. The kick returner.
It was
Deuce, not Deuce.
No. You had Deuce, and then he came out the same year Frank did, 05 in the draft, and he got drafted in front of Frank. And a good player. He was the last one to survive because Frank wanted to outlive all the running backs that got drafted that year. So he was the last one.
Darren Sproles.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So I'm just telling you from a scouting perspective, at least, and it doesn't mean they were going to be great pros, but Sproles turned out to be a really nice pro.
Yeah.
Those two guys, when you watched them play, they were fun to watch.
I'm telling you that for some reason that organization, what do you want to call it, university, you don't want to play them. I mean,
No.
Peter called them the Steelers.
Yeah, every year they just show up, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're in a big bowl game.
And they're beating Oklahoma State 42-20. And you look at Gundy, who's one of the smart, basically
Sure.
Gundy's a lot like a Sean Payton, a smart coach. He's just scratching his head like, we tried everything.
Yep. Well, and
Couldn't
the thing about it, when it's really all said and done, there's not a lot of talent. It's just a teammates. It's just football.
Speaking of not enough talent, Devontae Adams.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. He is sort of right now the hot chick at the dance. Everybody's trying to get her. And the question is, from the whole podcast from the field to the deal, from an agent's perspective, he's got, in my mind, when you're 31 years old, he thinks he's going to get paid next year. He thinks he's getting $30 million next year. And it's possible. But the only way he's going to get $30 million is he's got to show this year that he still has some juice. Right now, he hasn't showed it because he hasn't played. He's got a hamstring, which for the record, as I've told you, Scott is a very prejudiced person. He does not like little people, football players, and he doesn't like old football players because he thinks old football players get hurt.
Correct. They do.
That's it. I'm just telling you. He could care less if someone's
I
white,
think he's a
Hispanic.
profiler. He's a profiler.
Right. He could care less.
Kind of.
He doesn't have a racist bone in his body in terms of sex, race, religion, anything. But
no.
if you're old and a football player, doesn't like him.
He's
little,
equal opportunity football guy.
Yes. Perfect
Right.
way to put it. Perfect way to put it.
So, but you have a Devontae Adams who's 31 years old, and older receivers can get paid, but you are going to have to prove to guys like Scott that you can make it through a season and you have juice, right, Scott?
Correct, 100%. And the thing about it is too, a lot of times, it's the past medical history. When you're looking at older guys, and 31's not that old, but it's older. But when you invest in those cats and the amount of money you're going to invest in them, you got to go into looking at it like, you know what? If I get 10 games out of them, that's going to be good. Maybe 12 games, out of 17, which is now it's going to be 18 sooner than later. But you got to realize that they're going to get hurt. and he's got a hamstring now, and I don't know if it's true or not true. I know he's not playing. He's protecting himself, I'm sure.
No. My understanding is it's legit. He couldn't, and he can't play this week, and that's why teams aren't exactly going nuts with their best offer because.
Correct.
So here's the deal. He's got a salary of, and even Rob, you could do the math on this. He's got a salary of about $18 million, and they get paid $1 million a week, which is 17 weeks plus a bye. So it's 18 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting $18 million a year, getting paid $1 million a week. I mean, sorry, in 18 weeks, how much is he getting paid per week?
Right around about $1 million, a little over $1 million.
Yeah, right about $1 million.
I'm a private school math guy. It's okay. I got this.
Right. So
Carry
the fact that the Jets, Bills, Saints, whatever, didn't trade for him this week saved them $1 million. It's very simple. It's simple math. And so, but if you're the player, where do you go? Because you got to go to a place that's going to show that you still have some juice left.
I got a place. And I want you guys' opinion on where he's going. And if you think I'm right, because I think it could help the guy out. Underperforming quarterback, just needs a big target to throw to. I think Jacksonville's the dark horse if they can afford him.
Right. So you just opened up another can of worms. Afford them. They can all afford them. It's whether they can fit them under their cap. And the problem is,
and that's what I mean by afford them. If they can find the room for it, like, can they find the $1 million a week for them? Because
no, they can all do that. It's just a cap charge. But in order to get them, you have to have the cap room on the day you trade for them. So let's say, for example, just again using $1 million a week, there's 13 weeks left, so it's $13 million. If you were to trade for him today, you need $13 million in cap room. Okay. Now, if once you get him, you could then play cap games, meaning you could redo the deal with him, extend him out for 4 more years, and all of a sudden the $13 million, you could bring it down to $3 million in cap room. But you have to have the $13 million on the day you trade for him. So that then gives, and Pittsburgh's the only team that actually has that kind of cap room right now. So even the Jets, if they're taking, so that means Devontae Adams, he has basically a no trade clause, because if you want to go to Jacksonville, and let's say they have $5 million in cap room, they would have to work out a deal with Devontae Adams and the Raiders before the trade.
Oh, okay.
Just not for the cash. So they would figure out the cash. And so you could do what's called a roster bonus next week. And so that means that the Raiders redo the deal. Devontae Adams signs the deal. Cap number goes down to $3 million. Boom, boom, boom. Roster bonus hits next week, hits the cap. They're fine. But that means Adams has to agree to it. And so why, if you're Devontae Adams, would you want to go to Jacksonville if what I'm saying is you need to show people you got juice? They're 1-4 quarterbacks. Boom. I don't know. My understanding is he wants either the Jets because of Aaron, or the Saints because of Derek Carr, his college teammate, his former Raider teammate. But now Carr gets hurt; he's got an oblique. Mm-hmm. And so this is a double question. Watch how I do this. Okay. This is a double one-to question to both of you. I'm going to ask you, Rob, to spell oblique, and I'm going to ask you, Scott, to point out where your oblique is.
It's on the side of your ribs. Yep.
I'm flexing. If I wasn't worried about like a indecent thing, I'd show my belly actually here. It's somewhere right in here. I think it's a big target here. So,
but you got to spell it now.
Oblique, oblique.
Good.
So yeah.
It's the CK got you, huh?
Yeah, no, there's a silent T in there, I'm sure too. But speaking of the Jets, I do have a follow. Oh, sorry, Peter, you got another oblique.
Well, let me tell you this, Peter, Oblique.
Correct.
I'm going to ask for my money back for my college degree. That's for sure.
You never want to lose a spelling contest with someone from Wichita State.
Easy.
It's embarrassing.
I went to class.
It is.
Sometimes
it is. I'm gonna go to the school up north that I went to, CSU Global, and be like, hey guys, I would like some money back out of this. But
hey, Peter, I got a question for you. Good question. Hassan Riddick, what do you do with him?
Well, so just by way of, in case someone doesn't understand what happened, he obviously he's got some pass rush ability, but he's never been happy. can never, everywhere he's gone, he thinks he's underpaid, underutilized, everything. Went to Carolina, and Matt Rule used him, had a nice year. Philly overpays him. They find out what he is, always disgruntled, always constantly saying I'm underpaid. So, Philly trades him to the Jets for a third-round pick in the draft because they're just trying to get out from under him. And then obviously he can't figure out the new contract. He wants a new contract, which you don't automatically get just because you got traded.
Okay, but let me ask you this. I know you're going into personnel stuff now. As an agent, what would you do?
Well, the toughest thing.
Apparently, he just dropped CAA. You saw that.
No, CAA dropped
They
him.
dropped him. Yeah.
Yeah, the agents dropped him. So the toughest part about being an agent sometimes is not necessarily negotiations, and it's not necessarily getting the contract. It's managing expectations. Okay, and I've done this 30 years. I've never had a player say I'm overpaid.
Gotcha. But let me ask you this: CAA dropped him because they had a deal in
Supposedly
place?
they had agreed with a bunch of different things with the Jets, and he wouldn't agree to it.
You wouldn't accept it. Okay.
Which means that they did not do a great job of managing expectations. Now there are some players it's hard to do.
Sure.
Some players, you get a call every day, oh my God, a receiver, this guy just got 25. Why am I at 24? This guy just got 26. Why am I at 24? This guy got 18. Why is he so close to me when he stinks? I mean,
Sure.
Every deal comes up. That type of player thinks that every deal affects him. And I'm like, what do you care that the Dolphins just paid their guy that kind of money? I always tell the players, let's hope that the Dolphins pay more because that helps you with your market. They ain't money coming out of your pocket.
Sure.
Yeah.
But so he's a player that seems to always be expecting more. But at some point right now, even if they were to give him $20 million this year, because he's missed a third of the year and he's got $4 million in fines, he's not making it anyways.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, because I don't know this. That $4 million fines, will the team pay it or not worry about it, or does he have to?
So the rules changed in terms of fines.
That's what I thought.
It used to be that if you find a player, and of course what would happen is the GM would come out and he'd MF the agent, and then he'd MF the player. Oh my God, you're killing us. You need to be in camp. It's all about the team. Boom, boom, boom. And the players like F the team. They're treating me like crap, and they're not paying me. And they go back and forth. And all of a sudden they work out a deal, and then they hug each other like they're in love with each other.
Yeah, no, I've been there.
It's the makeup sex of sports.
But now it's changed, hasn't it?
Well,
Can
now it's
they
changed
rescind the
because-
fines?
Yeah, so if you're a veteran contract under a free agent deal, as a rookie contracts, you could still waive the fines. But
Okay.
any veteran who signed as a free agent, you cannot waive the fines.
And where's it go to?
So it gets split 50-50, I think, between the team's public outreach and programs, and I think maybe the Brian Piccolo Cancer Fund or the Vince Lombardi Cancer Fund.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So because the money, but then it's sort of fun, so the money goes to the team, and then the team, of course, says, oh, we're going to make it let's say they find Reddick $4 million. Oh yeah, we just made a $2 million donation to, Denver Public Schools. No, you didn't. Reddick did.
Yeah.
But they get to take the credit for it.
But it's still cool, though. I mean, at least
Yeah.
they
Well,
can't
yeah.
waive it like you said. Because I remember back in the day when I was there, like you said, with the rookies, I know that. But with the free agents, that you could fine them, but you'd never fine them.
Right, because
so-
you always kiss the man.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's always one of those where it's nice it goes to at least a reputable nonprofit, because I always joke, it's like it's when police are writing tickets at the end of the month, it's going to the theoretically to the county budget. You're like, that's not. They should go somewhere else. It shouldn't go to their bottom line too at the end of the month. But speaking of other guys that are looking for new work, Robert Saleh is the first NFL coach to be fired this season. So is he? It's kind of odd that it happened before without a bye week. The Jets are 2-3. The Jets have kind of burned through some coaches here over the last 15 years. Is this an organizational issue or is it a coaching issue? Scott, we'll start with you.
I know Robert very, very well. I worked with him in Seattle, and we worked out every morning together for like 2 years in a row. he's a really good person. He's highly intelligent. He's a defensive minded head coach, of course. He did a heck of a job at San Fran as a D coordinator. You know, they have talent. I think it's just kind of a shitstorm. I hate to cuss, but just with bringing Aaron in, and then all of a sudden bringing, you know, the coordinator in, offense coordinator in, and bringing his receivers in, who's once Peter's guy. But I think he just lost control of the team, you know, and you know, I don't know Woody. Peter knows him much better than I know him. But he seems to pull the trigger pretty quick. And but when you have expectations, especially in New York City, you have to win.
Yeah,
you know,
so
that's what they're looking for. And all of a sudden you're not. You know,
so Saleh in his run was 20-36. Gase before him was 9-23. Bowles before him was 24-40, and then Rex Ryan was the closest to 500 at 46-50.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if it's Woody who's making the calls for the coaches or if it's his son. I know his son's highly involved. I don't know, but it hasn't been right. But they have a good roster now. There's talent, you know, and for some reason they can't run the ball. And they got 2 legit running backs.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm just like, what the heck's going on? It shouldn't be that way.
I think that with, you know, sometimes the coaches, and I think it's Robert's 4th year. Sometimes the message gets lost, and you need to have a fresh messenger. You know, with regards to Jets head coaches, he's no Rich Kotite though.
I'm lost in that reference. You know what I want to see happen, Peter? This is what I think would be phenomenal happen. I think Vance Joseph has probably coached his way into at least another opportunity to be a head coach somewhere, whether he gets it or not this year. I hope he does. I'm a fan of second chances. Then I'd love Saleh to come here to Denver and be our defensive coordinator for a year or two and then get another head coaching job somewhere else. This may be a backdoor way for us to get a phenomenal defensive coordinator when Vance Joseph leaves to be a head coach again.
You know, it's interesting because what you just said really spurs something. A lot of times, and this is the issue with hiring first-time head coaches, there's just so much to learn that those guys really become better coaches the second time around. You know, Dan Quinn had his first chance, and, you know, now all of a sudden he's really looking nice in D.C. You know, Vance came here, probably learned a lot. You know, it does crack me up. Everybody talks about Aaron Glenn, and, you know, I like Aaron Glenn a lot, but, you know, why is he ranked higher than Vance Joseph in terms of getting a head coaching job? Vance has done it before. Clearly right now he's overperforming on the defense. Boom, boom, boom. So I think, and then maybe Saleh is going to come in there and learn a lot from his first experience. All right.
Absolutely.
You know, I just got a question here from one of our thousands fans. And the question is Aaron Rodgers a diva? And this is coming from one of our men in uniform overseas. And I don't know if diva, you know, the question sort of smacks on, that's a bad thing. That automatically, because you're a diva, that's a bad thing. Most times you're a diva because you're incredibly talented. Very few people are divas that don't have talent.
That's true.
All right.
100%. 100%. Some of the best players I've been around, especially on the perimeter with corners and wide receivers, they're divas, big time. You know, but also you got to be a good teammate. You know, you can do what you want to do on Sundays, you know, and show up and show out and do all that good stuff. But if you're not respected in the locker room, then you got issues.
Now, I know that the one thing Aaron is a great teammate. The players love him. He you know, and I think part of being a great teammate, and really Brady and Peyton Manning were some of the best, is Brady could tell you the name of every one of the 53 guys in the roster, plus the practice squads. And, you know, he would go to the Halloween parties, and he would make sure to meet the practice squad offense lineman's wife. And that got him a lot of street cred. And Peyton was the same way, but Aaron's the same way too. You know, and the ability, you know, they are great teammates, and he's the one that's always, you know, if he's picking up every check here, and he'll take there, and if Adidas sends him, you know, 10 pairs of new basketball shoes, he's making sure the linemen get it. So
who's telling you that?
people, great part of his teammates.
Aaron Rodgers is
Really?
how good of a teammate he
Yeah,
is.
Aaron Rodgers told me that. No, but the players do like him, and I do. But now Brady was the best.
Okay. Can I don't be negative here, but I'm going to be negative. It's not true.
Oh,
It's not true.
In New York, it is true.
It's the same thing as Russell Wilson. He could name everybody, you know.
Oh,
and
is it like the fake nice?
yes, when you're winning, everything's perfect. All of a sudden, you're losing. You're pointing fingers, other people, and that's the problem that's going on right now with the Jets.
If like Aaron Rodgers came in with a T-shirt to practice, the greatest teammate ever.
What? And does he have like a finger on it pointing?
Yeah, like, greatest teammate ever. Like, so
Jets head coach, Rich Kotite, he was the worst head coach in Jets history. Like had a 125 winning percentage. And you want to have a winning percentage higher than Scott's batting average.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
At a minimum, that's like the minimum line. You have to have a. What was your best batting average when you were playing pro ball?
When I was playing pro ball, it was probably 320.
Yeah. See, you want to have a better winning percentage.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
But
well,
all right,
no. The real question I have, Scott, for that is like the longer I've gone away from like playing organized sports, my points per game average goes up slowly every year. Like, how many points has yours slowly gone up every year?
It's a matter of fact, it doesn't go up because no one ever asked me about it.
It's like I think it was around 320 or 340 when I left, but the coach didn't like me, so that's why I'm not playing anymore.
So,
next year it'll be 360.
Yeah.
All right. So if Rich Kotite was the worst Jets head coach in history, to you two, here's your second one of the question: who is the second worst by winning percentage head coach in Jets history?
By winning percentage, I would just guess, just from in recent history, would be Adam Gase.
It's got to be Gase, doesn't it?
No.
9-23. Bulls is close there at 24-40 percentage wise. I didn't do the math percentage wise, but they're close.
Lou Holtz.
You're gonna say you're going old school.
Wow.
I knew you were gonna go.
Dusting that one.
I
Dusting
didn't
that
know he
reference
coached the
off.
Jets.
All right. Now I got Scott's. Batting average. So 92, Scott.
Go to college.
No, we're not college. Pro. Wait.
It was aluminum
Where
bats.
did you play in 92?
It was aluminum.
Where did you play in 92?
St. Catherine's.
That's right. Batting average 281.
I think I had the same average on my little league team that year. Scott.
Where did you play in 93?
Hagerstown.
Hagerstown. You know where Hagerstown is, Rob?
Next to like Levi's, I think.
No,
I don't know.
It's not far from West Virginia.
It's Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's a cool little town.
I bet it's beautiful in the fall out there.
And you hit 231 in Hagerstown. Must have had a lot too much fun in Hagerstown.
No. I had a bone chip in my ankle. I played through and had to have surgery after the season. I wouldn't stop playing.
And then in 94,
there you go.
Dundee. Where's Dundee?
Dunedin.
Dunedin.
It's right next to Clearwater. It's the Florida State League.
He hit 300, Rob.
Hey.
Hey.
Now we're getting closer to my GPA.
You hit he hit 300, partner, in pro baseball. You make a lot of money.
Yeah. Then he doubles back in Hagerstown in 94.
Yeah.
And he doesn't hit 300, Rob. 296.
Oh, Scott, I round up. I'm in sales. Okay, we round up. Okay, we round up. Okay, I'm in sales. That's how we do things.
OPS, but an OPS is 776. Which is not bad.
Hey, Scott, the real question about baseball that I have right now, even though your old stats are fascinating, by the way.
Wait, I want to ask you about these 38 strikeouts, though. Come on, put the ball in play.
It's 400 plate appearances.
I don't know.
Put the ball in play. Let's put the ball in play.
I tried.
Better than Aaron Judge. Better than Aaron Judge. Let's go. Right. So this weekend we got 2 Game 5s going for. We have tonight, Friday night. We have the Padres and Dodgers in LA. Who do you have?
You know what? I'm going Dodgers, but I'm telling you that Padre team's pretty
They're
freaking
fun.
hot. Yeah,
They're
pretty.
fun.
Yeah, no, you know what? I knew it was going to be a big time series. I knew it. But I think because of being at home, I think they'll get it. You know, and you know, is Freeman playing tonight? Do you know or not?
Not that I know of.
Yeah,
I haven't seen.
probably not. But they have a good lineup now. But it's going to be it's a heck of a series. That's the playoffs. That's why you got to love it.
What about now? I'm biased, 100% biased. My Tigers playing against the Guardians now, or the former Indians. Saturday night. Finally, they get a primetime game because it's Game 5.
Yep.
Who do you got, Tigers or Guardians?
I'm going Tigers because the head coach I played against in college.
Yes, even though we got the old cheater from the Astros, I'll take him for the Tigers. If we can win with him, we'll take it. I'll take it. So, guys, big games this weekend. Besides the Broncos and CU, what games are you excited about? We got Cal and Pitt. CJ's not here. He's probably in Aurora trying to hang out with his friends. Then we got Ohio State, number 2 Ohio State playing
Oregon.
number 3 Oregon. But Chip Kelly going back to Oregon, and Ohio State's favored by 3 with a 53.5 over/under. What college games are you guys looking forward to this weekend? Then there's, I think, Arizona State playing tonight against Utah.
Yep.
How about How about the Red River matchup?
Yeah,
Let's go.
Yeah.
OU,
First
Texas.
SEC.
That's a big game now.
Yep.
Big game. But you know
I'm
what?
actually-
The one I'm curious about is Ohio State traveling to Eugene, and that's a tough place to play now, and it's loud. It's loud, and you know, Oregon I don't think has played as well as people thought they would so far. You know, point wise, you put numbers up. You know, of course, different quarterback, all that, but it'll be interesting because I really respect the head coach at Oregon, and you know, he's a defensive-minded guy, and I think they'll have a package for Ohio State. I think it'll be a heck of a game.
It's going to be a fun day of football.
What about Penn State, USC, Florida, Tennessee?
There's a ton of great games. I saw someone post on Twitter like, whoever planned to have their wedding this Saturday, you're a jerk.
I went to my friend's wedding, and we stayed in the minister's office, the preacher's office, to watch the CU game. They held the wedding off for an hour.
It must have been a Catholic wedding.
I think it was. Tell you the truth.
Like a Protestant wedding, they'd be like, "Hey guys, wrap this up before the fourth quarter starts. Let's go." Yeah, so,
the game that I'm going to find interesting, and this is a little off the mark, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. What does Vanderbilt do after maybe the largest upset in history?
that's a good one.
I'll tell you what, Peter. I've been watching a couple guys from Kentucky this week. It's pretty dang good defense now.
That's what I'm saying.
Good defense.
But Vanderbilt, after
Alabama, I got you.
Yeah, I think that's a game that's going to be very interesting to see what Vanderbilt does.
Yeah.
I think the joke goes something like this. I've got 2 tickets to the Oregon Ohio State game. But the problem is I'm getting married on Saturday. If anybody wants to go in my place and someone says, yeah, he goes, okay, it's at the chapel over there on Smith Street. And my fiance's name is Suzanne.
Speaking then Sunday or on the pro side, we got are the Raiders going to collapse against the Steelers? Steelers are favored by 3 going to the Raiders. And then I think the other interesting one of the weekend is the Bengals and the Giants. I'm curious to see which one's going to start reviving their season between the two of them. What other games are you guys looking forward to on the pro side this weekend?
Well, the thing from my standpoint with the Raiders, they're putting Aiden back in, O'Connell, to be the starter, and that's fine. He ended the season pretty good last year, but still, you do that this early in the season means you got issues. So I would think the Steelers would get them. I'm trying to think. I think the Ravens are a really, really good team.
Yeah, they're playing. But it's also local. Baltimore, Washington, Ravens,
Correct.
Commanders.
Correct.
Nobody had the Commanders being 4-1 or 3-1 or whatever they are. Here's another one for you: Lions, Cowboys.
That'll be a fun one.
And the game I'm going to be at the Monday night game, Jets and the Bills.
Oh wow, that'll be a fun one. I'm curious what the Jets like coaches like when they're or let go or a mutual separation agreement, whatever they do. Is there a little bounce in the net? It's kind of like the new coach bounce.
100%. Hey, Albrecht played for me in San Francisco. He's a linebacker for me, and he's a great dude. And players respect him from the standpoint of his personality and his toughness. They'll come out swinging. I promise you that.
Yeah, the players call him All Brick. His nickname is Brick.
Brick.
That should tell you something. But also, it's
sounds
not
like
just
my jump shot.
He tore his bicep tendon, and we flew back. And he came in the morning, and I said, "You got to come to my office. We got to talk to the head coach." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, we got to get this thing fixed." So we go down to the head coach's office, Mike Nolan. And we walk in, and he's like, the doctor's in there, the trainer's in there, and they're like, "We have to fix it. It's like a spaghetti noodle. It'll shrink up if you don't have it fixed right away." And he said, "No, I don't want to have surgery. I want to play the rest of the season." He started crying. He was that passionate about it.
Wow.
So I walked down. I'm like, "Brick, we got to have the surgery. You have to. We got to get it fixed. So when you get older, you can play catch with your kids." So he had the surgery, but that's the kind of guy he is. I mean, but players love him.
And I know we're coming to the end of the show. The thing about the new coach bump, it's not just what Scott said, the emotions, but it's also, it throws off all the analytics. Buffalo's going in there with 4 weeks of analytics about how the Jets, what they did on offense. Throw it out because all of a sudden that Todd Dowling's going to be calling the plays.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, same thing on defense.
Yep.
Yes, Brick was the defense coordinator, but Salah was the defense coordinator, defense-minded coach. So now Buffalo has got all this 4 weeks of data, 3rd and 7 when the humidity is 22%, they ran right, and and Aaron Rodgers threw left and throw it all out. And so
Correct.
It's like that first week of the season for the Bills in terms of analytics, but the Jets, they have all the analytics on Buffalo.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that with like how it's you're basically playing a new team with the same personnel, or the tendencies are now going to change more. So that's actually great.
But
Great
as
point.
opposed to like in baseball or something, when you bring a new manager in from outside the organization, terminology is not changing, the playbook's not changing. It's just the sequence of plays calling is changing. So it's not like that difficult. Like you go in there and the player's like, "Well, I didn't know what you meant when you called 27 razor double under Omaha." That's still the same play.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's interesting. So guys, as we wrap this up, hockey season started up. The Avs are back, but they lost 8-4 to the Golden Knights. CJ's not here because he's actually training to be the goalie, a backup goalie for the Avs. That's where he's actually at right now. So, Peter, you're the hockey expert. What happened to the Avs?
82-game season.
Marathon, not a sprint.
No, hey, the goalie, he's hot and cold, and he was cold. And if your goalie's having problems seeing, it's gonna be a long night no matter what. But they're 80, and so it's sort of like quarterback. You got to find a way to get them back in rhythm and go. The beautiful thing about hockey is they play every other night, so the stench doesn't last long in the building.
No, absolutely. Nuggets are a few weeks out. AG still hasn't responded about my idea about him playing tight end for the Broncos, in case we're curious. There's a big game tonight, possibly the biggest one of the weekend. Castleview at Valor. Both are 5-1. Any predictions? Since it's not Cherry Creek, Peter, do you know?
Well, I know last year Valor tremendously underperformed, but Matt Russell's son is a stud, and I'm gonna go with Matt Russell and the Valor Eagles, or Eagles.
They're the Valor Valors.
I'm going Valor because my son's freshman year he played there.
I'm going Castleview, Douglas County representing. I think Castleview. I have an inside source with their coaches. Their coaches say that talent-wise they can match up, but Castleview's just not used to mentally being like we can actually play with Valor, and the kids actually figure it out. And it's in Valor. They got a great stadium over there in Highlands Ranch. It's fun to be there, but
there's money there.
Man,
I've been there.
It's a small college stadium over there. It's a
yeah.
But I call the upset. I'm calling Castleview.
Who's the head coach for Valor? You guys know?
Brian, I think is his name.
Yeah, they brought him.
He used to coach at Chatfield.
Yep.
Wasn't the ex tight end, Bronco tight end, the head coach there? They were winning.
McCaffrey was there for a little bit.
Oh, maybe McCaffrey. I'm talking about.
Well, they have a coaching staff that
Dave Logan. Dave Logan.
No, he's a Creek.
Cherry Creek.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
Valor High School coaching staff. I mean, they have. I think Kirchke played for the Steelers. Ben Hamilton.
I know Ben.
Yeah, because his kids go there. I think
it's nothing to the junior. It's nothing compared to the junior high basketball program we have at Front Range Christian. We got guys that's a pastor. We got a guy that works at Workday. We got me.
They got Bob Stitt. Scott, Bob Stitt's there, and he used to be the head coach at Colorado Mines.
Oh, really? He's there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I know. Yeah, I know they do a nice job there, but I didn't realize all of them were there. They get all their kids. That's why they do it.
Well, it's like we try to play them in lacrosse. Yeah. No. All right. Well, Rob.
By the way, we got a lacrosse player coming to play basketball for the first time, and they are athletes. They move the ball. They know. Like, I love soccer player and lacrosse players.
Rob, don't say that to Peter.
No, they know spacing. Spacing is one of the toughest things to teach in basketball. Where it's like when kids learn spacing in sports, the game changes and they play it better.
Well, all I know. Yeah. Well, all I know is I got to head to the airport. I'm heading to God's country, upstate New York.
All right. Good luck with that, Scott. You hanging out with us this weekend for the CU Buffs versus K-State and the Broncos? All right.
Certainly.
Peter, hopefully check in with us when he can when he's in wine country. He's gonna be there at the winery, like, "Hey guys, how you doing?"
No, there's no wineries in Cortland. It's the sauerkraut capital of the world. I might go to Hollenbeck Cider Mill in Virgil.
Hey, cider mills. At least we don't have to smell the sauerkraut, Scott. That's all I'm thinking.
That's what I'm talking about.
So, guys, it's been a great time.
Of the world. Let's go.
CJ,
Cabbage.
we miss you. I hope we keep feeling better. Good luck between the pipes. Did I use the term right there, Peter?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. CJ's training to be the backup goalie for the Avs, as far as you know.
Scott knows how to dangle, and he might get one by the tendy.
They don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means, so we'll leave it at that. Good luck, Scott, with that.
Later.
All I know is